And hello, welcome back to League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where we attempt to apply logic and reason to religion and politics. And today we're going to try to apply some logic and reason to Venezuela, because there's a lot going on there. Christy, you may be muted, are you?
Let me take a look.
Okay, no, okay, I can hear you.
Right.
So, hi, Christy, how are you?
Hi, Mac. How are you?
I'm good. Just hanging out with Christy. Anyways, so you have the bulk of this story. I just have a couple things to add. So why don't you go ahead and take it away?
Okay. I decided not to write anything. My part this week is going to be just a humanist talking about why it's unacceptable to be meddling in someone else's country. And I know that that's different than anything that we've ever done, but it's almost like a plea. Please stop fucking with other countries. There's no reason that we have this 5 or 6 men of any country that get to say what happens in another country. So we just had a second coup attempt on the country of Venezuela, done by the country that I love and call home. I think that it's so shitty. I'm glad it failed. The guy looks like an utter moron, and unfortunately, it's not over. It doesn't even look like we're halfway yet. Headlines in this country say, Guaido is worth more dead than alive now. Which is so shitty, because it's a win-win for the establishment. If he gets taken out, he's a martyr, and we get to go in. If he doesn't, it just shows them, and they can propagandize it to say he's so strong and has so many leaders. How dare they? They wouldn't. You know, no matter what they do, I am proud of them not arresting him. Whoever's in charge in that country of not arresting him. I think that is a smart thing to do. I know it's probably hard. I would want him arrested too. I couldn't imagine someone doing all of the things he's done in our country, even not liking the president that they wanted to overthrow. It's not democratic, and it's not how humans in 2019 do anything or should do anything. Okay, I really want everybody to, when you hear a narrative from CNN or anywhere else, that's fine. I hear it from them too. But what I found this week just cements the fact that we live in a society where we're not told anything that's really true. And it's been an exhausting week. I guess that's why I chose not to write anything. It's an empire that we're a part of. And empires do things, the ends justify the means. And I guess I want to say not in my name. Not in my name.
Right. Yeah, because as you said, 5 people shouldn't decide what happened in a different country, right? Yeah. You and I and many Americans, I think most, believe in democracy, right? And for democracy, you need more than 5 people deciding things, one. And also, we live in this country. I've said it before. Yeah. We live in this country. We need to, decide how this country's going to be ran. We need to, figure out our own shit. If we're worried about this humanitarian crisis down in Venezuela, which there is one to a point, right? They are in an economic crisis, but it's so easy to see that the sanctions that we put on them really fuck with their economy. If we would lift the sanctions, it would help their economy.
Yes.
If we really cared,
sanctions do kill. Sanctions do murder. Sanctions kill. Economic. Yeah, it is a tactic of war. And in medieval times, it would be the equivalent of surrounding an estate and starving a man.
Yeah.
It's the equivalent. So. The mentality of getting the regular peasants, the everyday people, to revolt because things are so bad. They suffer first. And it's unacceptable as people in a free country that have access to education, that know better. Like, we have to say no.
Right. We do. And the so there's a few things that I want to point out here. I am seeing other news organizations when I Google it, like Venezuelan coup, like the New York Times. They are seeing this as a coup attempt.
Yeah.
So that's good.
It was.
That's good. So that's something, right? Something I've seen though with this narrative that they're pushing so hard right now. It's hard because when I get an email from CNN saying that that CNN and the BBC have been pulled off air by the Venezuelan government, anyone else who doesn't know a lot of what's going on down there just says, "Oh, goddamn that dictator." That's it, and you don't need to read anything else because the clickbait has set it all for you, right?
Right. We've got to be smart.
The reason is because CNN was taken off air by the Venezuelan government, and I'm reading straight from CNN. On Tuesday, moments after the network broadcast a feed that showed military vehicles running over protesters in Caracas, which is awful, absolutely awful, and we should know about that. We do tend to pull things off that get gruesome, though, right? That happens on networks, so I don't really blame them for taking it down, but also I don't know if they put it back up. I don't know if they're covering it. I don't live in Venezuela. I've also heard, at least from Christy, that there's footage of those military vehicles being hijacked by the opposition.
Right.
So, and we haven't done enough.
Yeah, the answer is we don't know. Don't believe something. Don't believe a news source that's saying they know when they don't know right now. They don't know. Yeah.
We don't know a lot of what's going on down there. We have had journalists from all sides go down and say different things, right? Because we've seen things like talking to people in Venezuela who are just like, yeah, this government's awful. We need to overthrow. We need America to come here to help us. And then you go across the street and you talk to the opposite. Like, no, Maduro's fine. He's helping our economy. No, we want him. We elected him. And then you go into the stores that are said to have been empty, and they need to kill animals in zoos and eat them. But then those stores are full of food, and it's just like, okay, what the fuck's going on? Because obviously,
I think doing so much of the research of the history, it's a playbook that's really old. Bolton, these guys, this is their playbook. And they were able to implement stuff like this in Vietnam and get away with it. They were able to in Laos and get away with it. They were able to. We have these now. We know what we can immediately record people, what they're doing, and that's putting a damper in this coup. I think this coup would have went easy peasy had we not had access to online information right now. That's something to think about. But it is these guys, and maybe not even Bolton, just this school of thought of almost barbarian empire-ish, take. I don't know how else to think of it. I know that there's geopolitics behind it, but I guess I'm too humanist to see there being a reason for any of this shit.
Right. And there's like I said, there's a lot of information out there. And there's a lot to look at from either side, like the opposition or the supporter side, right? This most recent coup has failed, at least so far. And Guaido has pointed that out and said that they failed because he said, and now I don't have the quote. I had it a minute ago, and now the page looks different. But he said because we don't need, or because we don't have enough of the military coming over to our side.
Right.
Because he's trying to take over the military. He's trying to get the military to turn against the their own government, with a bunch of like bullshit that he's spewing. And that's like a little bit of like, try that here. Try,
I can't even imagine someone just claiming they are president and having other countries acknowledge that this person is president. See how long they would be alive in this country. Like, what?
Right. And whether he's calling for violence or not, which...
No, definitely not.
Towards the end...
He is.
Yeah. Yeah. It definitely looks like he is. And I mean, I do need to like set the record straight and say, like, in quotations here, after he said that the coup, or not the coup, but this attempt, this protest or whatever, this overthrow hasn't worked. He said, well, I'm not calling for violence. We just need all of the military to come out together to show that they're with the people. Okay? So that's what he said. But my point is, try that here. Because Maduro, being the awful dictator that he is, hasn't stopped this guy in the capital.
I mean, the narrative here, Mac, is that they have only state-run TV. Only this. And he's this brutal dictator. Every news source I see coming from there is so anti-government. I mean, just almost like crazy right-wing.
There's a lot of
what they're talking about. Yeah, if he was a brutal dictator, Guaido would not be in the streets having get-togethers. Like,
no.
Come on.
No, you don't get that with a dictator. So either they're right, and he is a brutal dictator, and then we're super ooper duper, like crazy dictator country, because you can't get away with that shit here, right? You can't.
Makes you think, huh?
It does.
Should make you think.
It makes me think a lot. I think a lot about Venezuela, and I get in a lot of tiffs with people around my area with that, because they don't look into it a whole lot, or they only see one side of a narrative, because who has time to go check sources?
Right? I just told you I'm exhausted, and research is a hobby of mine. I'm exhausted from Venezuela.
Yeah, alone.
And
a lot more going on in the world than just shit in Venezuela. But,
right.
But it's something that we have to keep touching base on, because it's
heartbreaking.
It's such a shit show, and it's an example.
Right.
We can't let this go on, because it's just another example of what's happened in the past, and it's an example of things that we need to stop doing in the world.
Yeah, it's like rewind, play. Rewind, play. I don't want to play it anymore. I want to do new stuff that may not work, but we don't know because we haven't tried it. We do know what you want to do again doesn't. We've done it. We don't want to do it again. I know. This is a heartbreaking, exhausting story. But I'm not going to just be done with Venezuela because I'm exhausted. I think that American people should be worried about what's happening to other Americans. They might be South Americans, but they're still Americans. They're still humans. And we should be worried about what's happening to them, especially in our name, with the tax money that we fund the government that's supposed to be built for and of the people.
Yeah. So supposed to. Yeah. But so
the more you know.
The more you know, the more you know. as Christy said in the beginning, not in my name, right? We're for democracy, and we need to focus on our own country. And if we're for democracy, which we say we are, the Venezuelan elections have had spectators there during their elections.
Right? They use a thumbprint. They have a thumbprint. There's no fraud going on. Don't let the news tell you that there is.
Yeah. As far as the United Nations is concerned, they have very, very valid elections.
More so than the United States of America.
That's what they say. So, if we're for democracy, whether or not we like this guy, that's their problem.
Right.
Let
an election coming up.
Be a different country.
Yep.
Let a different country be a different country. So, that's our take on it. So please be skeptical of what you read, and what you see, and just look up different sides. Obviously, look up the black and the white. Make some gray.
Yeah, a Human Rights Watch is a good place to start.
Yeah.
If you care about humanistic values and what's happening, it's an independent look at human rights abuses everywhere, and what you can do always is available. There's always stuff you can do.
There is. So if anyone is going to look up more, please look at CNN. Look at MSNBC. Look what they have, and then go look at some other sources too. Ask Christy and I, or look at Human Rights Watch, or look at Democracy Now, and then look at who's leaving what out, right? And maybe you'll see some on both sides, and that's fine. But check things out. Figure it out, because it's worth looking at. But stay skeptical, and look for some gray area, and stay humanist for Godless sake.
For Godless sake.
Yeah. So.